Hello, LEC community. It's Lexi Rios, Marketing Manager for the Latinx Education Collaborative. I'm so excited to have Julia Avila here with us today. We're doing a quick little nominee interview. She has been nominated for Future Educator of the Year. Hi, Julia. Can you give us a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Julia Avila, and I am from Kansas City, Missouri, and I have been nominated for the Latinx Future Educator of the Year award for the for a future high school English educator.
Yay, Future High School English. So, starting us out today, I want to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, your journey, anything about you that you would like to share.
Okay, so I am born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri, so go Chiefs.
Yeah.
And my journey to education is a bit different. How I would say, I mean, everyone's is unique for sure, but I started out a bit far from the path. So I actually went to several different colleges before I ended up at the one that I was at. And I was also a biochemistry and molecular biology major, so heavy science. But when I graduated high school, I still had a love for English. So I always took one or two classes throughout the years. Now, when I went to Emporium, because that was my first one, I was exposed to so many professors. And so, one professor there in particular, we wrote, it was a research paper. And I had so much fun writing that. I thought, oh my gosh, I love, the formatting, I love citing. So, I was more excited about writing than you would say the labs. But, I still stuck through it. After my one semester at Emporia, I kind of, transferred to Avila University, ironically, and I was still a B&B major there just because I only moved there because they had my same major. And it was at this school where I had my first kind of teaching experience as an adult. So one course required us to visit this organization called Literacy KC, and that's just an organization that kind of helps metropolitan area with reading or writing skills of all ages. And so we met with adults, and I was a bit nervous because I was young and I felt that I didn't know as much. But when we got our partners, there was one adult who still didn't have a partner, and she was a Latina woman and she spoke mainly Spanish. And I hesitated because I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I do try. I do know words here and there, but it was enough to get me by. And she knew broken English, but we were still able to communicate. And throughout the time of talking with her and helping her form a little essay, I felt this strange pull inside, and it was how do I explain it? It was fulfilling in a way, but also it was as if I was meant to do that. And after we had gotten done, after the 5 months of helping her, she actually asked if she could email my personal email for the story. And so I still have it to this day. And I just thought it was a nice interaction, but I didn't think much of it at the time. So after that semester that I did Literacy KC, kind of had a breakdown, kind of didn't know what I wanted to do with my life anymore. So I took a semester off. And during that time, I had a lot of discourse about what my future looked like with my mom. And she's one of my biggest supporters, and I love her to death. But I got asked a lot of, what do you want to do? What do you see yourself doing? Like, what's your next steps? And I didn't know. I thought I wanted to do something with science, but then she asked a question. Really, she told me to close my eyes. So I did. And she gave me the question, picture yourself in 10, 20 years, and where do you see yourself? So the images that popped up were chairs and desks, and essentially was a classroom. And I was confused because I didn't like college at the time because obviously I took a break, but I saw myself in a classroom, but it wasn't a science classroom. It wasn't biology, it wasn't chemistry. It was an English classroom. And as soon as that happened, what did I do next? Changed my major to English, and I started the path to getting my master's in education. And granted, the entire family didn't understand why I would make that change, but it wasn't for them to understand because it made sense to me. And so from there, I kind of just started with the English, the love of English. But what really helped solidify where I am today was actually at my third college, where I'm at now. Am I allowed to say names of professors? Okay, so his name was Dr. Shu, and he taught, I think, an African American literature course and a race theories course, which I took both. And he was just like me. He was a science major turned English. And I thought, how ironic that I come across a professor on the whole entire campus who did the exact same thing that I'm doing. And so that kind of really showed me that I have a place in the education field. And that was a bit hard to kind of see at the time because I didn't really see a lot of people who look like me just in the classrooms teaching. But he's part of the reason why I did graduate and why I am still pursuing the education degree. And so I'm just thrilled that I was able to take his class. I was thrilled that I was able to have all the experiences just because it was really tough to even see myself have a future in English. I would like to bring up one more story, and then I'll go to the next question. But there is this teacher in high school who placed doubt actually in my mind as a 10th grader, so a sophomore. I wanted to move up to AP English, and the only requirement was to get permission from the head of the department. So I went down to the senior teacher. Her name was Mrs. English. She was head of the English department. She was a bit like an older lady, kind of reminded me of my grandmother, had like short hair, kind of curled, but not too much. And I passed her room a couple times actually that day because I was so nervous. I was sweating. I was like, oh, she's older. Like, I just need to do this. I just need to get over with. So went into her classroom and I asked, like, hey, am I able to move up from the normal English class to AP? And it was weird. As an educator and an adult now, her response was not okay. But as a student, then I was just happy with her response. So she had told me, you're more than welcome to move up. However, you will not get higher than a C in my class. I was just happy about moving up. But it didn't dawn on me that that would kind of set me back a couple years. That's why I was so into science. I never thought I had a chance at English until that professor, Dr. Shu, showed up and showed me he did it, and I was able to do it too.
Wow, I love that. I can tell you're an English major with your storytelling skills. I'm over here locked in. The pull, I love that. You're saying you have like a pull towards what you're doing, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild how like one teacher can like kind of pull you away from that, and they can also pull you back in. It's wild how much influence teachers really have, and I think sometimes don't realize that. But I'm so glad you found Mr. Shu, Professor Shu. Love that.
Me too.
Well, thank you so much. I do want to ask you how you feel about your nomination. What does this mean to you?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to say that I'm honored. I could say that when I first received the nomination, I was completely shocked. Was with my cousin, and all of a sudden, hey, you're nominated, and I was like my heart, it didn't stop, but it was just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain my feeling, but it was a warm feeling. And so I know like I'm actively teaching and obviously I'm still like in the school building, but it didn't cross my mind that anybody would have thought to nominate me just because, I'm in a building, I'm amongst the teachers, I'm watching the students, I'm teaching them. It's not that I didn't think anybody noticed, but I just didn't think I would get recognition for being in the classroom, for, pursuing what I want to pursue. So it means a lot to me. It's something that I would say I never expected, but I'm beyond nominated. I'm beyond honored to be nominated for such an award. Like, it's just, I'm still in awe, if I have to say.
That's awesome. With that, I want to share a couple things that I saw in your nominations that kind of stuck out to me. First of all, you're Gemini, me too. Gemini twin.
Hey.
So one thing that was said a couple of times is how strong your relationship building skills are with your students. I can see that people, like, what people are noticing, the people who put in those nominations are seeing how connected you are with your students. And I just want to uplift that for a second because, I mean, I hear you, right? Like, it's your pool, it's your thing. So you're doing it, like, not really for anyone else, but for yourself. And like you said, like, it only has to make sense to you. But I think clearly, like, people are seeing that it is your thing and that you're good at it. So I kind of want to read this one because let me see. Um, I'm nominating this person for an award because she's an amazing student teacher. She is wonderful when it comes to making assignments, creative, entertaining, and engaging for students. She's also extremely professional, kind, and supportive to her students. One more. I've seen the difference she's made in the academic lives of my classmates. She's exceptional with getting students engaged, especially with those who typically don't. She has a unique ability to help students who are neurodivergent.
Oh, that's actually very touching.
I think that this is a well-deserved nomination. And there's like other things in here, right? But yeah, I think, you getting a Future Educator of the Year nomination and like these things being said about you right now, like I think just speak volumes about the teacher that you're going to be, leading your own classroom one day. So I'm so excited to be here with you.
Thank you so much.
So next question. Why does representation matter? I heard you name a couple of incidences in your journey about representation and like having that connection with somebody. Why do you think that matters?
So I think representation is so important, and it's so crucial for young minds to just see someone who looks like them, who has the same interests as them, who possibly went through the same things as them. And for this, I'll probably reference like the Zoom era. I was still in school when the Zoom era really went off. And when I think back about what kind of representation I saw growing up, there wasn't a lot of minority teachers, especially English teachers. And the only time I saw people who, looked like me or my family or just reminded me of anything of the sorts, they were either, up at the front desk or maybe one student aide when I was in elementary school. And that, it kind of shocks me because, how did I end up in this position? And when I think back to everything, it would have been nice to see someone who maybe experienced the same holidays, or perhaps had the same morals, not really morals and values, but more so like coming from the same background. Even though I come from a Mexican American household, and that does look different. We still have some similar things that not everybody and every teacher experience. So it's important for students to see someone and be able to relate to someone, because at least they know that when they leave the school building, there is a place for them outside of that building. There is, obviously a future that's ready for them. And I would, I'm so big on making sure that they know they can do anything, and I will pull as much representation as I can from literature, from what's going on in the world, to help show them like, hey, you can do this too. I mean, look at me, I'm here too.
Right.
And it's just something I do keep reminding them.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Um, how can we build the right conditions for the advancement of Latinx youth?
LEC in particular.
I said we, so like us and like you and teachers like you and just whatever, I guess whatever that means to you.
Okay. And what was the question again?
How can we build the right conditions for the advancement of Latinx youth? So
Okay. I think it's important to know how tough it is for Latinx youth to find their place, just because there's not enough of educators, there's not enough administrators, there's just not enough adults to pave the way for them. Um, and so I think it starts with getting to know who they are, getting to know their interests, what they like, what they don't like, because the last thing we want to do is essentially force them to do something they're going to dislike. We want to encourage and support growth, whether that's academic or even cultural. That could be authentic, real world tasks. So yes, we might have to put in the extra work. We might have to go read articles that we may not apply to the classroom. We may have to read, 200 plus page books, but we do that to find things that they'll relate to, that they might be interested in. And it might not hit them. They might not like it, and it could be a flop, but it's the amount of effort that we have to put in to do that. And if we lose that love, that drive, we essentially are failing not only them, but ourselves as well. So it all starts with a strong foundation of building relationships.
I love that. I love that. And I know it's a strength of yours. So I love that you lean into that and knowing that that's important. For sure. Right. Like you said, like the representation part, and also like in other areas too. Like you're saying, like you pull things from the real world and books and things like that so they can see themselves. And I love that. Our last question for you is, what keeps you going?
Oh, I think I really like this question because if I'm being honest, it's actually my day-to-day experiences. At first, as I was going through the classes and courses, I was a bit hesitant, but once I stepped foot in a classroom, not only did it feel like home, but it was just excitement because I had so many new names and people to learn. It was how the school works. It was behind the scenes for teachers, meetings. It's crafting. It's not only the materials that I'm learning in college, but the relationships that I'm building with the students and staff. It's also those aha moments when you're teaching or when you're speaking freely about a topic and a student decides to write something down because they resonate with it. It's those things that kind of fuel me. But if I were to dig a little deeper, it would probably be to do better than the previous day. I'm always self-reflecting. I'm never not. After an interaction with student, staff, or even a lesson, it's okay, what can I do better? How can I engage the next student? Or how can I reach that student, whether they're quiet or outgoing? How can I bring everyone up to speed? It's also the promise I made to myself after all those self-reflection papers and just personal ones as well. When thinking about education, it's the promise that I made to myself that I will do everything in my power to support the students rather than break them down and place doubt in their mind. It's to do the opposite of what my previous teachers did, but also to fulfill what should have been done. So those are just a few of the things.
I love a constant reflector. They can always be better. I love that. Well, Julia, anything else you want to share with us today?
Ooh, nothing that comes to mind other than I'm still completely shocked. Like, this is very shocking, but also it is a nice reminder that I'm doing what I said I was going to do, and that it's nice to see it's paying off. Even though I say I'm always reflecting, I'm never thinking about how what I just said or did is impacting the students. So it's, yeah, I guess that's what slipped my mind, but that was nice to know.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. It was so nice talking to you, LEC community. I hope you enjoyed learning about Julia like I did. We'll see you next time.
It was like us into the blades. We're sitting there like in the arena in Las Vegas, like.
When I started this LEC community,